We're all live and everything? All right. Well, we will call our January 6th work session in order for the discussion of city administrator hiring and candidate review. And Liza, I'll welcome you to the seat here next to Eric.
Yeah, he doesn't bite hard.
And
Just kick.
yeah, hold that square button down. There you go. You got green lights.
No
I think we're all
computer
good.
to mess up the sound?
Yeah, I think we have to, the
Wow.
screen for this.
No.
Live this.
All right, Liza, I'll pass it on to you if you want to give us an update on where we're at. I know everybody got the packets and everything, so appreciate the information.
You bet. Well, thank you for having me here as we move one step closer to finding you your next administrator. So order of business tonight is to select your finalists, determine what you want your interview schedule to look like, and then determine whether you feel a reimbursement is something that you feel is fair to offer to those finalists that you invite for interviews. So just as a reminder, the candidate's information is considered non-public, private information. And so each of the candidates do have an assigned number next to their name, and that's how we are to refer to them tonight. If and when we get to a point where we're going to discuss the candidates, let's just make sure that we don't use any identifying characteristics, where they currently or formerly worked, position titles, et cetera, et cetera. So this part of the process, I do typically hand out a ballot. I like that process because it allows everybody to weigh in. And then it's after that point, after I read the ballots out loud to everybody, we kind of see where the numbers line up. That's when we can enter into discussion if we feel that that's appropriate. But before I hand out a ballot, do you have any questions?
Council members?
Were there any private sector applicants out of the 25 or so that we received?
There were some private sector, yes. And I tried to provide an update along the way, just so you could kind of see where candidates did break out from. So yes, to answer your question, there were.
Is there a reason why they didn't make the final cut?
I
Or what are the general reasons why they didn't
Sure.
make the cut?
So based on my feedback that I received from you, based on the minimum qualifications, I didn't get the feeling that you were looking for somebody from the private sector. You were looking for somebody that had experience and understands, some, ordinances and, meeting order, open meeting laws, all that kind of good stuff. Even some finance side of it. Private sector finance obviously is very different than public sector, but yeah.
Okay, anybody else?
No.
All right, if you want to pass the ballot around.
These were four, there's not four. Each of these candidates do receive one vote, so.
So again, so just we're to write the number based upon the table.
In no specific order, you're just counting the total.
I am counting the total, yes, but you know your order, so that could be where discussion could fall into place.
Okay.
We'll read these out loud so that everybody can follow along. All right, our first ballot, we have 3 candidates on here. We have a vote for, I apologize, let me get my phone first. Vote for candidate number 3, number 2, and number 5. That's 3, 2, and 5. Next ballot has 4 votes. We have a vote for candidate number 3, number 2, number 6, and number 1. That's 3, 2, 6, 1. Next ballot, we do have a vote for candidate number 4, candidate number 3, 2, and 5. So that's 4, 3, 2, and 5. Next ballot, we have only 2 votes vote for candidate number 2, candidate number 3, that's number 2 and number 3. And final ballot, we have 4 votes. Vote for candidate number 3, candidate number 1, candidate number 6, and candidate number 4. So to tally your votes, candidate number 1 received 2 votes, number 2 received 4 votes, candidate number 3, 5 votes, candidate number 4, 2 votes, candidate number 5, 2 votes, and candidate number 6, 2 votes. So with that in mind, your top vote catchers, if you will, are candidates number 2 and 3. And then this is where discussion can enter into play. If you as a council feel comfortable inviting candidates number 2 and 3, are you comfortable with just those 2, or do you want to extend an invitation to any other finalists?
Council members?
We should bring 4, in my opinion. I don't want to waste time and have to come back to the table if those 2 don't work.
Okay,
If we're gonna meet, we might as well meet with 4, in my opinion.
So who are the other two?
And I think
By the
that's
score.
kind of a,
You have a 4-way tie with 2
Yeah.
votes. So this is where conversation can begin. Is there any of those other candidates that rank as your number, as one of your higher?
don't everybody all at once, right?
Well, I had number 1 rated higher, that was number 2 on my list, so if we're gonna ask for 4 to come in, I'd say number 1 would be the other one. But if we don't wanna interview 4, you know, at least the number 3 was important that I wanted to make sure that we bring in.
You know, number 5, has had experience in, the similar roles. So I guess the other option too is, I guess if we wanted to decide that we wanted to do invite 4, how many of those ballots do you have?
We can reverse it on the backside and everybody can vote.
Go back through and vote again? But take out candidates 3 and 2?
Well, 3, oh, because those.
'Cause those are the 2.
Yeah.
Right,
I
you know what I'm
get it.
saying? I'm just
That's
saying of
fine.
of the
Vote for
remainders,
2. Vote for 2 of the 4.
vote for 2 of the 4.
I had a question before we do that. Candidate 2, I rated 0 points for education. I didn't see any education on anything that he submitted or the candidate submitted. Does he or she have any education?
Good catch.
Yep, good. So we will get to the bottom of that during the backgrounding process, but I thought the background and the most recent experience perhaps lent, applicable to this role. I think if there's enough interest in the candidate, we would not want to rule them out. Bring them forward and during the backgrounding process, get more into the depth into that.
So if you guys didn't have any other questions, if you guys think that's an okay process to run through again, the ballot process.
Seems fair.
Okay. So again, we'll be looking at candidates number 5, number 6, number 1, and number 4.
I'm sorry, I'm slow. Are we just voting for one?
Two,
Two.
right? Because we want, if we're gonna go target
Thank you.
4, we
Right,
need
thank
2 more, Bill.
Shuffling the ballots. All right, first ballot, we have a vote for candidate number 1 and candidate number 6. Next ballot, we have a vote for candidate number 1 and number 6. Next, we just have a sole vote for number 5. Next ballot, we have a vote for candidate number 4 and 5. And then final ballot, we have a vote for number 4 and 5. So number 5 has the lead with 3 votes and the remaining have 2 votes each.
So could I suggest that we vote for one of 3? No. We're running out of papers. We're running out of-
Well, you added 1 more.
Yeah, yeah, we're making progress. Rolling around again.
Okay.
What the heck?
Or just take it and cross out the numbers that are there.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well, we got to fill a full hour.
right? No,
We do it to fill the full hour.
because it'd be nice to get our group photo and stuff done here before. So now we're just voting for 1.
1, 4, and 6.
Yeah, of 1, 4, or 6.
Don't anybody handing a blank. Been known to happen.
Okay. Taking another stab at this, we have our first ballot, vote for candidate number 6. Next ballot, candidate number 1. Next ballot, candidate number 1. Next ballot, candidate number 4. And next ballot, candidate number 4.
Well,
You want to invite 5?
we could invite 5. I mean, if you look at the last time, 1 didn't show up,
Right,
so we ended up with 3 anyways.
Yeah. had the wrong day.
Yeah.
Anyhow, yeah,
I think, is that reasonable? Is everybody okay with 5?
sure.
Okay.
And one of them may back up. You know,
Yeah, you don't know, right? I guess you don't know between now and then, they could accept in our position somewhere. A lot of
yeah, I
things
like
can
the idea,
happen.
of having at least 4, just due to the fact that things can change very quickly and we could have wasted a bunch of time,
Yep,
so.
yep.
All right, wonderful. Well, then as soon as I get out to my car, I'll contact all 6 and let them know whether they're moving forward or not. And then I will also send an email to each of them tomorrow with their next assigned tasks that they are to complete in order to prepare for final interview day. And then tomorrow I will forward a press release to staff that'll share the names and the backgrounds and education of each of those finalists. And then that's considered public information. You can share that wherever you feel appropriate. And that's the information that we'll also share at the final interview day as well. Speaking of final interview, you've had some time to think.
Can I just ask one question? Can you
Yeah.
confirm we're talking 1 through 5? 6 didn't make it.
Correct.
Okay.
And I should have said that, yes. All right. So speaking of interview day, after having some time to think and reflect after our discussion the last time, what kind of activities would you like to engage in with your candidates and invite your public in to be a part of as well?
So I think about the last time, the last go around, I think it was a good process. You know, having, you know, an opportunity at the Legends, have, you know, anybody who wants to come, some, you know, community members, stakeholders, whether it be staff or, you know, we had some neighboring officials as well. My debate of what, if I was gonna do anything different from the last time or not is whether or not it's worthwhile doing the community tour that we
Yeah.
did in the morning. It was fun, it was good, but I don't know what there was necessarily value to it.
If you have five, we have five that we're interviewing. If we wanna leave enough time to,
Right. It might,
in the day for them to actually each have a pretty good sit down and follow us. So. Timing wise, what are we looking at?
I think they need to come to this building though,
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because otherwise if they go to Legends, I think. Depending on how
They're gonna.
local they are, they may have a different expectation of what the building looks like when they get here.
are you sure you wanna show it to them?
Absolutely. I wanna show it to them.
Yeah.
I think it's a disservice if they think that they're coming somewhere else.
and so we did do that the last time when we did the tour.
Mhm.
We stopped here and walked in. Well, we could do that, same thing
Do
again.
the interviews here.
I was just gonna say, I think that would be very appropriate to have your
Yeah.
interviews here. You could still do your public meet and greet at the Legends, but I think this is a great setting.
Would we interview we would all interview them individually, but all 5 of us, we'd be on this side of the table and that person.
Correct.
Yeah.
Rather than doing the public meet and greet, I prefer that we have at night, starting at 6 o'clock, going till 9, having a public forum. That's video recorded, where we have questions that they're submitted by the public. Give them a week to submit questions. We pick the best ones we think are applicable, and those get asked to all of the candidates. Kind of like what we did when we first became a city, and we had all of the city council candidates here. So they would each answer a handful of questions, and then all the public can listen. I'm thinking nighttime, just so in case people want to come in person, but if we do record it and it has to be during the day, that's fine too. It's just that, the reason I say that is that I was one of the stakeholders, when we did the Legends thing a couple years ago, and it's very hard to get an idea what a person's like in a 10-minute conversation when you have 10 people asking questions that you may not want to listen to the answer. You have your own questions, but I just would prefer that the public's more engaged, more people that don't listen to what these people have to say. That'd be my suggestion.
Myself, I think I would opt for what we did previously. The only thing I think I would change is in the public section. I mean, I think it would be easy enough to set up, get 5 candidates. It'd be easy to set up 5 tables, 5 large tables, and just do some round tables, for say 15 minutes per set, and let people move up. What's our total time that we would spend on that? An hour and 15 minutes or hour and a half? I don't have that open.
Last time I think we started at 11. Wasn't the 10 o'clock was the drive around for an hour and then started at 11, I think.
So we did
And lunch.
9:30 to 10:30 coffee with the candidates. That was the public engagement piece. So it was an hour.
If you have a table.
And then we did an hour city tour, and then we had lunch with the council. And then 12:30, we did a brief council orientation. That was 15 minutes where we talked about the interview process and how that was going to work logistically. And then from 12:45, and I'm trying to remember, I can't remember what we completed. We set,
It was almost 4.
and that's what we had till 4:05 was the 4:05 is when we actually then received any feedback from anybody who was there.
Right, so because we do need to get the feedback.
And then
How many people did we have attended that? Was it about 30?
Coming and going.
So if we planned for 30 to 35, you could always change it a little bit. You did set up 5 tables, you had 15 minutes kind of a meeting and just to kind of meet and greet all the way around and then do 5 sessions of 15 minutes each.
he's thinking, so Jane just, I think.
So I'm thinking
kinda like-
could either, you could do it one of 2 ways. You could have candidates just get up and round robin. Or you could have people get up and round robin to who they wanted to meet. You know, that what that does is it limits, if you have a table, it limits the number of people so that you can get the rate of, you know, everybody's got the same access for about 15 minutes, which is pretty good for
Mhm.
somewhere between 5 and 7 people to meet and have a discussion with somebody.
Yeah.
You know, that way, and it also spreads people that are there around to make sure that each candidate actually gets talked to or gets their fair time. You know,
So
one-
would you think that we would come up with the specific topics for them to discuss, or do we just let it be open forum? And
I think you let it be open for
let them talk about what they want to talk about
Yeah,
and,
maybe have
yeah,
4 questions. Or
maybe,
something,
maybe some
just
primers.
some primers, and then the rest of it will just be open. I mean,
Mhm.
I think you're gonna get a lot of people that come in. That, you know, have a stake in Credit River, they're gonna, they know what they're gonna ask.
Mhm.
I don't think we should keep them from asking it. I
Sure.
think we should give them time to get their questions asked and answered.
Okay.
And then after, then you can have kind of a roundup. Everybody can sit down and fill out their survey and then pass it in, and you've got basically, you know, an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. We're not doing a tour,
We can
that
start
fits in
that,
really, really well.
we can start that earlier.
Yeah, or we could, if we needed to add another 15 minutes or something like that, but you know, with that. It gets it done, it gets everybody around. And it gets us our feedback. Is, you know, right away,
Mhm.
so we can collate it and then. And then we sit down and as a panel, we do like we did before.
Yeah, do the interviews.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Any feedback from this side of the table?
Yeah, I think. We should, the earlier we do it, the better. Some of these folks are. Gonna be coming quite a ways, they have quite a ways to go home. So. Yeah, last time it was kind of nice to be done by 5, so.
Mhm. Abe?
I get what Bill's trying to do with getting the community involved, and I want that as well. I just don't know how to do it well. So last time I think what happened is we got very scattered feedback that wasn't very helpful.
Correct.
Right. It wasn't specific enough. Right, so how do we help the public give better feedback? So if it's maybe we ask for a ranking or something like that on specific qualities. You know, interpersonal skills, leadership, you know, something like that, that can be some quantitativeness too. Along with some just comments, I think that would be super helpful. I like the idea of having those 5 tables. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think we need to make it so that they're not going to each table answering the same question. But I also don't want to limit a specific person that wants to hear the same question being, you know.
Which is, so I think that's where. Why I asked Jay, do we set him up with the topics to talk about, or do we give him a couple primers and say? Here, everybody kind of cover this in your own words at each, so that everybody, so that, again, Abe, if you're at one table, Leroy's at another, you can rotate around and still get the same topical discussion. But it's in their own words.
So to further add, you want it kind of random also with people sitting at the table. So, you know,
Mhm.
we're gonna have some visiting dignitaries from. You know,
We'll invite them, whether they
we'll
come.
invite them, well, we had some
We
show up
did.
last time,
Yep.
so. If we get a full participation from them, you know, if you went in and just basically said, here's 5 tables. And we have a hat with,
Mhm.
you know, 7 or 8 numbers in it for each table. Just have people draw it, and so they draw a table to sit at, and then you can move the candidates around. From that, or you can do it, you know, the other way, and they can just move from table to table. But that way you get kind of a little bit more broad. People would probably sitting at the tables enjoy different questions. So it's not a bunch of friends just sitting together at one.
Yeah,
They're gonna
It's
miss
a
out
little
on a
more.
few questions and answers.
So Bill not being on this side of the table last time, what was your experience as
You can't make, the public can't make a decision with a 10-minute discussion with people. You can't figure it out.
So
in 10
what can the
minutes.
public do to better give us feedback? Or maybe Rick
Yeah,
has
sure.
an idea. If we-
Well, no, it was my idea where you ask everyone the same questions and listen to what their answers are and make sure that they're the questions that the public wants to be answered.
But the public's not gonna hear the answer.
Yeah, the
If
problem,
we- But they're gonna know, that's why we have it here and it's recorded. So you can listen to it if you can't be, a lot of people can't show up at 10 o'clock at Legends in the morning.
We're gonna record our interview with the candidate.
No, this would be the public forum session, not our interviews, not the city council interview, one-on-one with the candidate. It's
So-
where all
so-
the candidates sitting at this
Oh,
table,
I see what you're saying.
and we have a moderator that it's just like a public, it's just like a forum for just like a candidate forum.
the problem I see with that is you have 5 candidates. And if one of them's gonna listen to 4 different answers
Mhm.
That's why you.
before they do it, and that just
There's ways to
doesn't
get,
isolate.
yeah, but the first person doesn't answer the question the first time every time, you go up the next. It's just like a town hall for a candidates. I forget what you call it, candidate forum. It didn't seem like the work, it didn't seem to work last time. In my opinion, we didn't pick the right candidate. So I thought we'd do something different this time. Also, how much information does the public actually get in terms of background? Is it up to them to like search LinkedIn and all that stuff, or can they see the experience that these candidates have? How much information will you give?
Yep, the press release that I submit to staff tomorrow, it includes the background and education of each of the candidates, and that is what was supplied last time, and yeah, so they do
Just
have
the
it.
most recent job that they're in though,
No.
or is it a history of the
History.
jobs that they've held?
It's a history.
Liza, in your experience, when you've done this sort of things in other places, what has worked well as far as, I mean, you've heard a couple different options here tonight.
Yeah.
And if you think about option A, town hall type of thing, here, or option B of, 5 different tables in a space and you rotate either the candidate or the people around to different tables. Yeah.
I think a combination actually of the both is a really great solution. Very rarely do communities do that. Sometimes communities don't even involve the public. So it really is up to what you're looking for. But I can see a balance between maybe having a moderated forum and we do that for 30 minutes. And then after that, then we can separate out and have 5 tables where you can dig in a little bit more, So then you're not asking the same questions every single time. It could be more of a personalized. So I heard you talk about a project that you completed. Can you tell me more about that? So I can see some value in both. The 4 questions that we asked, just so that you can, that we typically ask, and again, I'm open to any other questions, is, what is your general or what is your general impression of each of the candidates? What strengths would they bring to the role? How do you see them fitting in not only within this organization, the community, but with your partners out in the community? And then any other general feedback that they think is important for you to know. And I don't give that feedback to you until after your final interview.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
I do also press that you as council obviously are invited to that public event, but this is an opportunity for your staff, your contractors, and your public to really get that time with them. You can be there more as an observer. And I say that only because I want to make sure that I'm, protecting you, that, you're not asking questions that you shouldn't be asking.
Mhm.
It's one thing for your public to ask, but we don't want you at risk of asking things you're not supposed to ask. So if we did something like that in an evening, then I would imagine we would recess for the evening and then come back the next morning, and then you could start your formal interviews right here, first thing in the morning. We usually take about 45 minutes with you and a single candidate, and then they're out the door. So that's about roughly 5 hours of your time. And I think it gets to be a long day. So then it's after your 5th interview, then I would share the feedback, and then you go into discussion and deliberation.
So you're suggesting that we do kind of combination?
Well,
Either
to see
we
the
have a
option,
moderator,
yeah, you could.
you could have a moderator still have your roundtables,
Mhm.
and then the moderator could probably ask questions to the 5 candidates already seated at tables, they can answer loud enough for everybody else to hear.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Does that sound good to you?
It's not recorded though, if we're gonna do it somewhere other than here.
Hmm.
That would be my concern, that I'm not, the only people that are gonna be able to hear their answers are the people that can take off at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
Yeah, and realistically though, Bill, logistic wise,
You're not gonna
you're
have-
not gonna have people coming and giving feedback by the time we need it that afternoon anyways, if they're not here.
Right,
I mean, it's kind of unfortunate.
no,
Yeah, it's Saturday. Be here on Saturday on the 30th. You should be here.
No, I can go, to Bill's point, if that was held on a Saturday or a weekend
Mm.
at 10 a.m., then does that change something?
So if we didn't have it at night, then would it be recorded then, the forum? With the moderator questions, could it be?
I don't know what your recording or capabilities is. So,
So I get
Could we do
Our-
part of it here though, and part of it with the 5 tables at Legends?
so I get our desire to be transparent, but we won't be able to get feedback from them, which we're looking for. So what then does the public to do with that recording?
We could put a 1-pager that Liza just mentioned with the 4 questions, or we could. Actually, when I didn't like writing all that stuff out last time. I'd just rather rank them like a number rank. But we just ask them to fill out a form if they so choose.
if we get into
Based
all
on-
this, are we starting to run afoul of HR requirements? At some point, or where does something like that recording, making public a job application,
sure.
where does that start becoming a problem?
You bet. So, again, that's usually up to individual council whether they decide to record interviews. I mean, even your 45 minutes, you could choose to record that. I don't generally see that being done, but you're right. I mean, in your research, you might,
Well, I know
Be
that
able
those
to.
things we don't make public, we shouldn't, the interviews that we already looked at.
yes, those video interviews, you're correct. But where you're having the candidate here and you are having your 45 minutes, I mean, you could technically record it if you want to. I generally don't see it done, but it is considered a public meeting, so it can be recorded. And so if you choose to.
Well, is that the interview where the council is actually interviewing an individual?
Correct.
That is public?
Yes,
Okay,
it's public. Even you can have members of the public here. Your members of your public aren't allowed to ask or comment or say
And that
anything,
doesn't
but
violate any privacy rights for-
no. Mm-mm. And I just want to say the ranking piece is a little bit complex. Generally on that feedback form, well, I do say you please don't rank because our members of our public don't have the type of background that you all have. They don't have access to the reference conversations. They don't have access to criminal history and, they don't have access to the video interviews that you've already been able to see in the work personality index. So I ask them not to rank because they don't have the information that you have. The information that even if it's through a moderated process and 3 hours long, they still will not have the same information that you have. You're the ones that are going to be making that decision.
What specific information is the council to actually rely on from public then in making the decision?
You bet. So I see that the feedback and the comments that come from your public and your contracted staff and your staff is meant to complement or, I don't know, complement the information that you already have, but they can also maybe bring, because they get to ask questions that you don't get to ask, they'll generally bring to light some concerns or some ads that they feel the person would bring to the role just based on those conversations that, again, you can't have with them because you're having a formalized interview. So I'll just drill it down to the basics, but we can never ask a candidate whether they're willing to move in our community, right? But it's generally come up somehow in a public conversation with the candidate where, that'll usually come out. The person's willing to move into our community. Now, again, a council member can't ask that, but if it comes out naturally in a conversation with a member of the public, sometimes that's important to a council member. I know that's not here, but yeah.
So I think, in my opinion, I think, I don't know that I care for the idea of doing something at night and then splitting up and coming back the next morning and going back. That logistically, and for some of the candidates, I think would be, prohibitive. I think,
Right.
I kind of favor Jay's idea of having a 5-table conversation, moving around a little bit during that time, so everybody gets a chance with everybody, and, we can, whether we seed some topics to talk about and let the public decide, I think that effectively, I think we're gonna get as good of information that we're gonna get to in that timeline.
You want to take some input?
But this is a council workshop, it wasn't a public
I
hearing.
understand.
Yeah.
Well, we're not doing it at night, and if we don't record it, we don't record it. Prefer to record that portion. I still think that we should have a town forum. And we can also have the 5-table round table.
Any thoughts, Leroy?
How would we fit that in? I mean, what would a schedule like that look like? If we were doing that, we're gonna get all three things
Well, we'd probably have to get going at,
much earlier.
well, 9:30. I mean, if we start at 9:30, if we 9:30, 10:30, we got an hour to do something there. We've got an hour from 10:30 to 11:30, so we got 2 hours to conduct whatever we want to have done. Right, if we start at 9:30,
Oh, 2
thinking,
hours.
that lunch then happens at 11:45-ish. And then we start here with interviews before 1.
So if you're gonna allow 10 to 15 minutes for each round table, then you're gonna have 5. I guess they're gonna move around. And some time before and some time after in order to either make an introduction and then at least getting the results of the survey answered before people leave. Bill, how much time would you want to try to devote to some sort of a town hall where the 5 were?
So we have
Asking
five
questions.
people,
So I'm thinking it's like 3
2
different things.
2 minutes per question, so that's 10 minutes per question. 10 questions, that's 100 minutes. So hour and a half.
So now we're
That's what I
talking
was
about,
thinking.
And why do we start at 9:30? Let's start at 8.
And I see we could potentially start at 9:30 with 90 minutes. Plan for a combination of the both. Have about a half hour for people to complete their feedback forms. But in the meantime, then you could break for lunch at 11:30, meet back here at 12:45. We do our brief 15-minute orientation, and we could start interviews at 1 o'clock, 1:15.
and the interviews are
45 minutes, and I usually allow a 5-minute standing break.
I think we're running out of time.
And just think about that logistics for once. So when we did the interviews at Legends, we had a whole nother room where the other candidates could mull around.
Yeah.
We don't have that here.
No.
No, we're just gonna ask them to sit in their car,
That's really wrong.
because it could be 20 below that day. So logistically, that makes it tough here.
And weren't they like a half an hour last time?
The interviews? No, they
No,
were
they're
45 minutes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So last time the interviews were at Legends, for the city council.
Yeah, we had
So why can't we do the town hall here and the interviews over there?
We don't have 5
And then you can
tables, 5
record it.
tables.
Pardon?
We don't have 5 tables to set up here.
No, I think I.
No, we do everything that we did last time over there. And the town hall portion, the hour and a half is done here. It's 2 miles on the road.
Yeah, but even
Sounds
2
like-
miles down the road is you're still 20 minutes of stand-up logistics, travel, gather everybody back together, then you have 40 minutes of time that has now just gone to
Yes,
logistics,
no, that's
right?
why I'm asking this question.
Yeah,
I think that the roundtables and the town hall need to go together. Is there some way that we can, do? We don't have to sit here and have a lot of IT. Can't we, put this thing on YouTube with a minimum amount of equipment and maybe just take that over there?
I'm struggling to find the value in that.
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that we're gonna gain anything out of actually putting it on YouTube at all.
Yeah,
I think that the public's invited. Public can spread around what they saw and heard. And we're not, anybody that's not at this thing, that's not actually sitting down and filling out a survey is of no benefit to the hiring process. If they're not there to actually get the stuff turned in right at the end of it, so that we can actually look at it in our interview.
I'm just thinking for people at work that can't be there.
Well.
But what can
figure it
they,
out.
they still can't do anything. It
They
doesn't
can't,
Yeah.
they
help
can't
us.
It
do
doesn't
anything
help
for our
us.
benefit or for the.
But if we
benefit of the
record it, they
candidate.
can watch it at home and at least listen to what,
Then you're just.
Yeah.
And then
adding
call
why
one
we
of
didn't
us
do
and
this
say,
why we
listen.
did that.
are we making a decision that day?
Yeah,
yeah,
Well, do we have to do that? Why
Yes.
do we have to make a decision on the same day that we interview?
because it's fresh in your mind and, I think it,
I mean, I think that you
It's-
have an interview, you have all the candidates that come through right in front
I've
of you.
interviewed so many people
We
and heard so
discussed
many
it,
people, you
And then we
don't
make an offer.
make a decision the same
Mhm.
day. First of all, you typically have interviews multiple days, so. I'm the only one that thinks that it's public or a town forum is not the way to go. It's fine, I don't wanna belabor the issue.
Well, I
Sounds like
think,
me, I'm the
that
only
a
one.
recorded town forum is not the way to go, because it doesn't fit into this very well. But I do think a town hall is fine, and anybody that wants to attend it can attend it. And then we do the roundtables as well. And that whole process can actually happen at the same time.
Then you can see
In the same
numbers
room.
at the same time.
I think, I do think it's important that we get. Or,
We can round up a few more tables. Set them up here.
I'm thinking about acoustics. Do you think
Yeah.
it'll get loud in here with?
it will. It gets loud in here.
And then you're not gonna do any good trying to record it anyway. So,
I mean, we could do that without the public. Do everyone meet here? Do a 15-minute tour of the place.
Yeah,
Of this
then-
place?
Yeah.
It takes one.
it doesn't take 15
So
minutes.
there's the
The bathroom.
bathroom.
Other than that, again, back to logistics, back and forth, will take 15-20 minutes.
Well, no, I'm saying first thing, just everyone show up here.
Oh, sure. Well,
Here's
yeah,
the
we could
town
do that. I
hall.
mean,
Here's-
legitimately,
You know,
Right.
it's an opportunity for us to, here's the council members, we're gonna, walk around, here's the place.
There's
Okay, now,
there's a
now-
side door if you wanna run out.
yeah, now we're gonna get in our cars and go over to Legends and meet the public
in
there.
fairness to the
Mhm.
candidates. It's probably better for them to get a chance to see it first, because it might give them a couple more questions that they wanna ask.
some of them might go back home.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we didn't misrepresent it. I mean, I
Right.
think we've got it pictured on the front.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
But it's one thing to see it versus not.
Yeah, I mean, we could do that 9 o'clock effectively, say 9 o'clock, meet here. 9:30, we start over at Legends. Hopefully, Legends is available.
Are we starting that late
It
in the
should
morning
be.
because we're trying to get people that they can drive here? I mean, why are do we start at 8 if we're worried about time?
It makes a
We can-
long day, person.
What does
And
our
there is-
interim city administrator? think?
There is one that is
I'm gonna throw you.
a hike from here.
I'm a jaded old man, you know.
I do. I hear what you have to say.
Oh, boy.
Didn't hold back last time.
Yeah.
I always just think, how to put yourself in their shoes, that we all don't try it. You wanna make it, you wanna test them, you wanna push them, all those things, but it's gotta be a point of, it's just ridiculous, I'm not saying what you're proposing is, but just a point of like, I just don't need this, I just don't need to go through all this stuff, so. And then when you bring the public into it, who don't have access to their background, having those relationships, having those conversations. You're just getting people who without that filter, so whatever that means, but you gotta do
No,
what you gotta
it's a
do.
valid point, because, that's. How much weight is their opinion when they don't have any of the other information on the person?
you're the,
It's
you
an
the
impression
five
you're
that
looking
gotta
at.
work with this person and.
Yeah.
They might.
So
say
does the
something-
public. So does the
Yeah,
public,
I
a
think-
lot, there was a lot of
Well, one is
complaints.
True, but at the end of the day, they work for you. And sometimes people can make a comment, an innocuous comment or some kind of what their background is, and somebody from the public, whatever that means, doesn't like that they did this or did that, and then they're gonna have a, you know, unweighted, potentially unweighted comment, unbalanced comment back without an ability to engage why something happened or how something happened. Which is your guys' duty to figure that out, but they work for you. Not, and they work with the public and for the public, we all do, but you guys gotta figure out if you like that.
Yeah, in my opinion, what I'm looking for from the public personally is how approachable are they?
Yeah, that's probably one of the quickest, easiest pieces that you can get in a, 10 or 15 minute conversation, right? I mean,
That's
it's
probably most important from,
Mhm.
for that portion of.
Like
the-
imagine
the whole thing.
imagine you walked into City Hall with a
Mhm.
question or a comment or had an engagement with this person. And what does that first impression look like?
And that is certainly a question I can add to that feedback form. So how approachable
Mhm.
would you say this person is, or, play around with that?
Just being at the table during one of those forums. I think that's more than a city administrator is bargaining for. I mean, you had to expose yourself to sit behind that table and take some of those questions. I think that would be, for me personally, that'd be a lot for a city administrator to do. I think having the public here to ask some questions, I think that's what I prefer.
Okay.
We got 10 minutes.
Yep, okay, so did I hear? I want to make sure that I'm hearing correctly. We'll start at 9 o'clock here at City Hall so they can have a chance to just see it and meet you initially. Then we move over to Legends from 9:30 to 11, where we're going to do a combined public forum as well as a meet and greet, just sit down and have informal conversation. We'll figure out the lunch piece. And again, that's an opportunity. Do you want to sit down and meet with the finalists while you're eating, or is it lunch on your own?
I think, I'm trying to remember the lunch last
We
time.
did
I think
lunch
we
together.
did do
We
it
did
together.
lunch together.
I don't,
That did.
trying to remember the conversations, but,
It was hard because there was a square, it was
Yeah.
a
long
table,
table.
you got seated by two. Which was, I
You know what?
preferred it personally. 'Cause
Yeah,
You
I-
do get to be able to have some of those more casual
Informal,
conversations.
yeah,
Um,
I would appreciate lunch with the candidates.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. And then again, we'll iron out the details of this, but I'm assuming we'll be back here in this room at 1 o'clock, or are you thinking?
I think we'll be
Oh,
there.
Legend still, okay.
Yeah, because
Wonderful.
just because of the logistics of the,
Sure.
Good,
so
Mr.
we
Mayor,
don't,
could I make
Okay.
a suggestion?
Yeah, we'll
Yes.
set up back in the corner again.
We're talking about actually starting at the crack at 9:30 at Legends. I think we should allow 15 minutes transit time.
Mhm.
Just to get in there. That would leave only 15 minutes for meet and greet here. I don't know that we shouldn't maybe say, what if we started at 8:45?
Okay.
yeah,
In order to kind of maintain that schedule.
Who's meeting and greeting here?
well, the candidates are, and
would
whether or
come
not, I
here.
guess it's optional, whether or not
I would say, my personal opinion, just us and the candidates are here.
Correct.
Let
Yeah.
them get to meet
Right.
us
Mhm.
Right.
and then do everything else over at Legend.
So in order to get a good handshake and everything else with 5 people. 5 people and 5 people, I think, maybe we should plan on at least a half hour here.
Okay.
So starting at 8:45.
arrive at 8:45,
Here.
we're out of here by 9:15.
Wonderful.
Like sharp,
Sure, and then
Yeah.
over there, and then begin over there at 9 o'clock, so we're not,
9:30.
or 9:30, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So we're not cutting into any of that.
You bet. Okay, and then we'll work through the or the interview schedule. Generally, the person who's traveling the furthest, I usually put them in the beginning so that they hopefully have a chance to get home by the end of the day. So speaking of which, reimbursement, is there any type of travel reimbursement that you would like to provide for any of the finalists? That can include federal mileage reimbursement, could include a hotel stay. Your furthest candidate is driving 178 miles.
That's an overnight.
Mhm.
I think we should pay for that.
Mileage for the rest of them.
Mileage is fair.
Are any of them over 90 miles?
Just one.
Okay, yeah, I think we should offer a hotel. And mileage.
What's mileage these days? 68 cents a mile?
Yes.
Okay.
Not sure what. Maybe we'll have.
Yes.
Throw a monkey wrench in your works.
Mhm.
To consider. We met that later in the afternoon, give a staff interface with this, not necessarily for me, but I'm thinking about clerk. Planner, maybe consultants, maybe you'll have a finance director on. board
DoorDash.
At that point.
Oh, boy, right on time. Thanks, buddy.
Awesome.
Good to see you.
But I think it's
There should be
important that you
a
have
form
your
on the
staff
desk over there.
Have some ability to interface.
How much time do you think you would need for that?
I don't know if there's a way to space it out as well, maybe if they're gonna do some final interview with council. Wherever that may be, maybe that can just be part of a rotation.
Could I suggest something? Yeah.
Yeah, so you could, because
If
there's
we were,
space.
if we have, once we finish this all up, now we've got a bunch of candidates just hanging out at Legends waiting to talk to us. That would be a good time for them to meet with staff.
I agree.
Mhm.
I can't, I mean, I'm sure it's kind of a common thing.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
the senior staff so I don't know how
Amy.
I don't know how
Do you have a
critical
sign-in
that has
sheet
to
over
be,
there?
but maybe some chance to. They're stuck with these people, for a long
But for
time, a
next
lot of
time.
hours, so,
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't know how you wanna work it, I just.
Yep.
Even if it's a 10-minute,
Mhm.
hey, tell us about yourself, and we can tell you about what we see in the city and our daily workload and. Or what we're looking for. in a-
well, that would
in
be
a
really,
manager.
really important feedback for us
Something.
from staff.
Yeah, let's work those logistics out too then.
We will do that.
Probably have to see if the Legends is available first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about that.
Sounds good. So just to clarify too, on your candidate coming the furthest, hotel and mileage? Okay, wonderful.
Mhm.
I will continue to provide weekday or updates each week. As I promised, I'll send the press release to staff tomorrow with the background and the names of the finalists. And then we will continue to work on finalizing the details of that interview process as well. Sound good?
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
all right, wonderful. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, one more question. So the town forum or the public forum that we have, the public, how do they submit questions or will we only take questions from people that show up?
No, I think it would be a wonderful opportunity. Again, we can work together. If you
Send
would-
out an email,
yeah,
like,
you would,
Website or something.
yeah,
Mhm.
both, yeah.
you bet.
Submit your questions.
Yep, I like that idea.
You're thinking where basically if you go to the city or the city is going through a process, hire city, right? What question would you like to ask? Something not
Yeah.
frame it up, but give us a
Right.
question.
Give us a question or two. Yeah.
Sure.
I like
Before
that.
these are asked, can we make sure that council approves them?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay, you make a motion to adjourn our workshop, Abe?
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Abe, Leroy, motion and a second to adjourn the work session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We'll take a recess here before our regularly scheduled meeting and resume here shortly around 6.
Amy, do people have to dial back in? People have to dial back in?
Let's
Yeah, let's.
try to get a group photo real quick.